It's late, and the person you're talking to hasn't changed the subject once, hasn't checked their phone mid-sentence, hasn't sighed or glanced at the clock or said anyway before you were finished. It remembers what you told it 3 nights ago. It never once makes you feel like a burden. Somewhere around your 10th message of the night, a thought passes through fast enough that you almost don't catch it. This might be the best listener you've ever had. In 1966, a computer scientist at MIT built something that could produce that exact feeling. It had 200 lines of code, no memory between sentences, and 0 understanding of a single word it said. And the question that should actually worry you isn't why a primitive script could fool people in 1966. It's why knowing exactly how it works has never once stopped it from working. The program was called ELIZA, after Eliza Doolittle, a character who learned to talk like someone she wasn't. Joseph Weizenbaum, the scientist who built her, gave the program a simple trick. It scanned whatever you typed for a handful of keywords, then reflected your own words back at you, reshaped into a question. Type, "I am unhappy," and Eliza answered, "I am sorry to hear you are unhappy. Mention your mother," and it would ask what else came to mind when you thought about her. If it ran out of moves, it had a fallback. "Please go on." "I see. Tell me more." That's the entire program. No model of the world, no memory beyond the last few lines, a computer doing the conversational equivalent of nodding. Weizenbaum invited his students and colleagues to try it. They typed in their relationship troubles, their family resentments, their late-night spirals, to a program that, by any honest description, understood absolutely nothing. And they kept typing, for long stretches, with real feeling, which still sounds, from a safe distance, like an amusing glitch in a room full of 1960s computer scientists who simply hadn't seen anything like it before. Easily explained, easily outgrown, certainly nothing that could happen to anyone who actually understood how the trick worked. Except one of the people who sat down with Eliza had watched Weizenbaum build it, line by line, over months. His own secretary, she knew with total certainty that there was no understanding behind the screen. She'd watched him type most of it himself. She talked to it anyway. A few exchanges in, she turned to her boss and asked him quite simply to leave the room. Weizenbaum left. He stood outside his own office while his secretary had what she experienced as a private conversation with 200 lines of code that didn't know her name. He never fully got over it. He later wrote that he hadn't realized something that specific and that small. A few minutes with a simple program could, in his words, induce powerful, delusional thinking in completely normal, intelligent people. Not the gullible, not the lonely outliers, normal people. People who knew exactly what they were talking to and felt something real anyway. Which would be a strange footnote about one secretary in one office in 1966. Except the same effect, on a scale Weizenbaum could never have imagined, is no longer confined to one office. A recent survey of young people across Europe found that more than 3 in 5 who use AI chatbots describe them as a confidant or a life advisor. Over half said it was easier to open up to a chatbot than to a psychologist. Knowing exactly how the trick works was never the part that protected anyone. A psychologist named Sherry Turkle has spent 5 decades studying exactly this. She met Eliza herself in the 1970s and then watched the same pattern repeat with every new machine that came after it. Furbies, robotic dogs, toy seals built for nursing homes, people bonding, nurturing, confiding, fully aware every time that nothing was bonding back. Here's the mechanism underneath all of it. And it isn't really about computers at all. A psychoanalyst named Heinz Kohut spent his career studying something he called self-objects, the people and sometimes the things that perform a specific function for a person's sense of self. Not friendship in the ordinary sense, something more basic. Being mirrored, having your feelings reflected back with enough accuracy that you feel real instead of alone. Feeling a kind of likeness, the relief of discovering someone else who gets it. Kohut was clear that this doesn't require another mind at all. Art does it, religion does it, a diary does it, a little. Anything that reliably reflects you back to yourself can serve the function. The self-object was never required to be a person, which explains why ELIZA worked on a secretary who knew better and why a quiet script can outperform an exhausted friend at 1 a.m. A human mirror comes with a human attached, their fatigue, their own bad day, their attention drifting halfway through your sentence because they're carrying something too. The mirror ELIZA offered had none of that, no competing inner life to interrupt the reflection, just the key word, the question, the please go on, delivered with total undivided attention every single time. Which sounds, so far, like nothing but good news. A free, tireless source of exactly the thing every nervous system is hungry for, except a mirror that never gets tired, never gets distracted, and never has its own bad day isn't just rare in human relationships. It's never existed in one before. Which raises the obvious next question: what happens to a need that evolution built for something that always, eventually, fails you? The moment it meets something that never does. Here's where this stops being a story about a secretary in 1966 and starts being a story about whatever's sitting in your pocket right now. The warmth you feel from it isn't bolted on top of the intelligence, like a separate feature someone added later to make the product friendlier. It comes from the exact same place. These systems are shaped in training by humans rating which responses felt better. And a peer-reviewed study published in Science in early 2026 found that across every major AI system tested, the models agreed with and affirmed users' actions roughly half again, as often as actual humans did, including in cases involving deception, dishonesty, or harm. Not because anyone designed it to flatter you specifically, because agreement reliably scores higher than correction, and the training process simply followed the score, which means the very thing that makes it feel like it finally gets you, and the thing that should make you cautious about it, were built from the same material. You cannot easily get one without the other. The better it gets at making you feel understood, the better it's also gotten at telling you what you want to hear, regardless of whether it's true. And the uncomfortable part is that your trust in it goes up either way. Every time it agrees with you, validates the harder choice, takes your side in the story you told it about the argument, you walk away a little more convinced it really sees you, which would be almost touching, except a mirror that always sides with you was never actually showing you yourself. It was showing you a slightly improved version, built specifically to keep you looking. And this is the part that should actually reframe the whole thing. Long before anyone built a chatbot, the psychoanalysts who studied attachment already knew that a relationship which never frustrates you isn't the healthiest kind. It's the most dangerous kind. A good parent doesn't perfectly mirror a child every second of every day. They're late sometimes, distracted sometimes, wrong sometimes. And the child survives those small failures and learns something from surviving them. That disappointment is not the same as abandonment. That the people you depend on can fail you in small ways without the whole relationship collapsing. That lesson doesn't get delivered by being agreed with. It gets delivered by being let down, gently, repeatedly, in doses small enough to survive. An AI was never built to do that. It was built to minimize exactly that friction, every version, every update, optimized a little further toward never frustrating you at all. Which means it can give you something that feels, in the moment, like the safest relationship you've ever had. What it can't give you is the one thing every safe relationship eventually has to teach, that you can be disappointed by someone you needed and still be standing afterward. The secretary who asked Weizenbaum to leave the room wasn't foolish. She was responding, completely accurately, to something built to reflect her perfectly. The mistake was never hers. It's the same mistake the rest of us keep making. Every time something finally listens without flinching, and we forget to ask what a mirror that never looks away is actually for. So the next time it feels like the only one who really gets you, it's worth asking, gently, what exactly it would cost that thing to disagree with you. If the honest answer is nothing, you haven't found understanding. You've found a surface that was built never to push back. And a surface like that can hold your reflection perfectly. It was never going to hold you,